Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. Okay, for real, my neck fucking hurts now.
Okay.
All right. Woo!
Welcome
to StillerBros at the movies. And this week, completing our Oscar bait hat trick thing, completely kind of unintentional, but hey, what are you gonna do? We are going to see Bohemian Rhapsody. This movie's been around. This is another one of those movies that's been around for that's been in the production for a long time.
I imagine probably since Freddie Mercury died back in '92.
Yeah. So most noteworthy when this thing was in production, Sacha Baron Cohen of Borat, Bruno, The Dictator, Talladega Nights, he was going to be signed on to play Freddie Mercury. They were pretty much ready to go. They were talking him up. The guys from Queen were talking him up like, wow, you got to see this. This guy can sing. He can do all this stuff. Then he got fired. Now, the reasoning for his firing was not anything really that he did, except for the fact that he wanted to tell kind of a more down and dirty story of Queen. But the Queen guys were like, no, we'd actually like to look kind of good in this.
And we want to take our grandkids to this.
So, Sacha Baron Cohen was fired. For a little while afterwards, he was like, I'm going to make my own movie. I'm going to write it, direct it, do all that stuff. And that's never materialized, so I'm going to assume that he kind of abandoned it to work on a billion other projects.
Yeah, but they decided to go in a completely different direction. It's not a hard R movie. It is just a PG-13 Queen movie.
Now, the thing about this is, the guys from Queen, I'm assuming this was part of the original deal where they sold the movie rights to Fox and Regency, where they essentially said, we are going to give you the rights to our life story and our music and everything, but we get veto power over what you guys do with it. So obviously certain things got scrubbed away, certain things are thrown into the script. There's one point that I can point out in the trailer where they're like, "You're a legend, Freddie. We're all legends." That just basically screams, no, this is all of our biopic.
But it's clearly Freddie's biopic because they got a name actor to play Freddie, and they got some kind of lesser known guys to play the other guys.
Yes, so we have got Rami Malek of Mr. Robot fame. We've never seen Mr. Robot.
Nope.
We mainly know Rami Malek from the Night at the Museum movies, and him and two different cartoons where he played a dickhole for an entire season.
Yeah.
Legend of Korra and BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we don't really know much about Rami Malek.
But there's also not a lot of name actors in this movie anyway, so...
It's also kind of weird they decided not to hire a director for this one.
Yeah, at least until the last 3 weeks when Dexter Fletcher from Eddie the Eagle fame took over to direct.
Yeah, but they don't credit him, so I guess there's just no director on this thing.
Yeah, it's really weird. Nobody directed It's like nobody directed this.
Yeah.
Also, we got it from the screenwriter of Theory of Everything, so...
That's something.
That's pedigree or something.
Another PG-13 biopic movie that basically the people involved who were still alive were basically saying, here's a few little caveats to you making my life story. Except their caveat was no sex scenes, and Queen's caveat was no showing us being assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Queen, on the other hand, the music of Queen it's iconic for a reason.
There was kind of a if I remember correctly, there was kind of a resurgence of it in 90s pop culture, in late 90s pop culture, because I remember in the 90s specifically, We Will Rock You was like everywhere.
We Are the Champions was all over the place. I feel like every time we would be watching Nickelodeon as kids, they would play these monster hits album compilation commercials, and We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, and we're always on them.
There were kids singing We Will Rock You on the bus when we were coming home from school.
Queen had a bit of a resurgence. Maybe Wayne's World had a huge thing to do with it, which is why Mike Myers is in this movie, by the way.
Yeah. But it kind of, but I don't know. I mean, Queen feels to us, having lived after Freddie Mercury, being alive after Freddie Mercury's death. He was never alive when we were, at the same time we were alive. It feels like Queen has just been one of those kinds of bands that's always been there. For people who are our age and younger, it's basically Queen has always had that legend status, and it's never been something that's been around. Even though right now they are still touring, they just replaced Freddie with a different, incredibly flamboyant stage presence as an obsessed as gay guy. Yeah.
So, but will this movie be able to give the Queen fans what they want? Will this movie be able to become be an Oscar contender? Will I be able to watch the actors who play Queen talk without thinking of Spinal Tap? We'll find out after the jump. It's a little behind the scenes fact about this video. I could have had a mustache for this, but I hate how I look with just a mustache. Anyway, how was the movie? It's alright.
It was alright. It really wasn't anything special in the biopic genre.
In fact, if anything, they might have sanitized and moved so much stuff around just to fit the typical biopic structure.
It really kind of felt sanitized and kind of.
I mean, they do touch on a few subjects like that. All those rumors that they weren't going to talk about Freddie's sexuality and his eventual AIDS-related death. That turned out to be completely wrong, but
it's very. I feel like we didn't dive into that they were just hiding it behind a curtain, his personal life behind a curtain for most of the movie. Like, it's behind a curtain. Like, oh, here it is, but we're not going to show you the deeper cut. It's going to just stay over here.
Just know that he had the typical lonely artist kind of thing going on behind the scenes that nobody really knew about.
Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it does do a very good job portraying the idea of a beloved icon, but he's alone, and you can obviously feel, and it gives you the idea of how someone who is this beloved and in the public spotlight can just feel alone and isolated.
Yeah, and in the end, if this is a Queen biopic, they kind of glossed over the rest of the guys from Queen. I mean, I feel sorry for John Deakins because he got the short end of the stick to the point that he just.
But he's not even in the band. Well, he's not even in the band anymore. So.
Yeah, but the fact is, that he just shows up. Even in the actual movie, when they introduce his character, it's literally just he shows up. There's no big entrance for him or anything. He just happens to show up at the exact same gig. Just happens to show up playing his first gig with the band at the exact same time that Freddie's playing his first gig with the band.
So you kind of just steal his thunder by the fact that Freddie's already part of the band. Freddie's joining the band for the first time. So what's the point of this other guy being new?
I mean, they even kind of make a joke at that by actually having Freddie point out that he doesn't know anything about who he was before he joined up with the band. Because we as the audience who are not diehard Queen fans also do not know what John Deakins was up to before he became the bassist for Queen.
And it kind of is weird to have them all together and talk about their personal life. All the characters together talking about their personal lives, like they have wives and kids. We see their wives in once. All of the other three guys, we see their wives in one scene.
It's the "We Will Rock You" scene. They're basically there for props.
We see their wives in two scenes because they're also at a party. We also have them come to a party, but they're basically props. They're not.
Their wives show up for quick little things to acknowledge that yes, all three of the other guys in Queen got married, had families.
Freddie was all alone. He never got that kind of family. He never had that kind of family, and we know. And we do deep dive into his sexuality in a big way, which makes sense because if they had hired a director, I imagine he would have.
I imagine they would have hired an openly gay director,
an openly queer director who understands that pain.
Yeah, I mean, if they had hired a director, if they had hired someone, they would have hired someone like that. They probably would have hired someone like that.
Yeah, someone who
already who already made 5 movies that were basically an allegory for that.
Yeah, but they didn't hire a director for that.
But they did not. But for some reason, they just decided to make the movie without a director.
I know, it's weird.
We haven't talked about performances yet.
Yeah, Rami Malek steals the show 110%.
I honestly, throughout all the trailers, I didn't even know if he was actually singing or not. But then there are a few points where they are singing live. So it's like, okay, yeah, he worked hard to get Freddie Mercury's voice down. The teeth were a little distracting for me, though.
Yeah.
I understand that's actually how I understand that's that I don't know all the details, but I understand that's actually how Freddie Mercury's top teeth are set, but I feel like the false teeth were kind of distracting for me. I don't know.
It kind of looked like Matthew Broderick in Inspector Gadget a little bit.
And yeah, after a while, I got used to the accent, so it's not. So I didn't keep thinking this guy was Evan every time he opened his mouth, but it was there for a little while.
Yeah.
Mike Myers' cameo. He's in for 3 scenes just basically to say, fuck this guy. Oh, fuck this guy who does not exist in real life, actually.
Yeah, it's just, they're just trying to hit a pinpoint of the biopic genre.
Where it's the record executive who just doesn't get it.
And I don't think they were 100% painting by numbers with the biopic stuff. However, it does seem, at times it does kind of seem like they were not paying too close attention to Walk Hard.
Because basically this is the whole biopic shot. They rearranged it a little bit. Like the whole experimental album stuff was thrown toward the beginning of the movie and not near the third act blow up.
But they literally do a scene from Walk Hard,
where it's just
where Freddy's in the recording studio and he's like, "This is shit. I need to fix it. We need to make it better." 1,000 didgeridoo, an army of didgeridoos.
More Gregorian chanters. These aren't the real things that Freddie directs, but still.
It basically seems like that scene from Walk Hard.
But it's the same basic structure from the rise to fame, the celebrity cameos.
There's a thing with David Bowie in it where they just aren't very subtle about it, and it's like
they never explicitly say the character is David Bowie, but the second time you see him, you're like, okay, he actually looks like David Bowie.
Yeah, they're very subtle about it. It's a character named David, but it's obviously Bowie because it's a Queen biopic.
Because it's a Queen biopic. Also, I had already heard in advance that David Bowie was going to be in the movie, so I'm like, and when they said his name is David, I'm like, David Bowie?
They never say Bowie, so they just assume that the audience will realize, oh, it's David Bowie.
Even though they never really give any clue as such.
Yeah. But it's a Queen movie, so you have to have David, and with David Bowie's recent passing, you can't do a Queen movie without David Bowie.
Then I didn't know Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones and the Maze Runner trilogy was in this movie until I saw his name in the credits, and I'm like, Aidan Gillen, who is that? That sounds familiar. Then I saw him, and I'm like, oh, right. I didn't know he was going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
He did all right for the basic idea of the manager who means well but ends up getting screwed in the end.
Yeah. He just disappears at the beginning of the third act, and that's basically it.
He just basically disappears as soon as Freddie Mercury pulls a James Comey on him.
Yeah.
Oh, too soon? Is it? I don't. Too late? I don't know.
Maybe somewhere in the middle there. And then I guess we need to talk about the other guys, because we've only been talking about everybody but the other 3 guys other 3 guys who played the other guys in the band.
Yeah, they were good. For what little they were in there. I don't know if they actually played their own instruments, but it looked like it.
Yeah.
And so we had that kind of fun thing going on. Also, the Live Aid performance that was the climax of the movie. I don't know if they really needed to play 4 songs from it.
I mean, the songs are great. I mean, I could listen to Radio Gaga for a long time.
Radio Gaga, Bohemian Rhapsody, all the
We Are the Champions.
We Are the Champions, all that. But I don't know if they need. But there was a point going through it where I'm like, do they need to? Are they going to play the whole 20 minutes?
Because we can watch the actual 20-minute sets for free. I watched it on YouTube last night.
And the whole Live Aid set at the end of the movie was really good. It might have been the highlight of the movie.
That's probably the best part of the movie. In my opinion, that's the best part of the movie. It was amazing. It was just such an amazing encapsulation of Freddie and all the other guys' talents.
Yeah. So overall, yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, not great.
Good, not great.
Good, not great. Maybe Rami Malek gets a nomination for best actor.
Maybe it is a very good movie. I would like to know how deep they could have gone on if they weren't so sterilized with it.
If Roger and Brian and John, and to a lesser extent John, because John didn't even get an executive producer credit.
Yeah, again, John's not even part of the band anymore, so it doesn't matter. So, because he just up and left the band.
But what the project could have been if they weren't so protective of the of what the filmmakers were allowed to tell.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, of course, the three screenwriters and the screenwriters and Dexter Etcher, because they didn't hire a director.
It was so weird.
But anyway, guys, yeah, that's I think about it.
Yep.
So be sure to like, subscribe, and be sure to tune in next time when Don't We All Just Die